GM is marketing the 2026 Chevrolet Silverado 1500 with 4 different engine options that promise impressive power and efficiency. But there's a critical problem. Every single powertrain in this truck's lineup is hiding at least one systemic flaw that could drain thousands from your bank account the moment your warranty expires. If you're shopping for a Silverado and want to avoid a financial disaster, you need to understand what GM isn't telling you about these engines. The reality is that issues often strike when you least expect them. So let's check out 6 major flaws. Number 6. Intake valve carbon buildup. Let's start with an issue affecting every gasoline-powered Silverado on the road, whether you choose the 2.7-liter Turbo 4 or either of the V8 options. Direct injection technology is the culprit here, creating a maintenance nightmare that GM isn't advertising. Traditional engines used port fuel injection, where fuel sprayed into the intake manifold and naturally washed the backs of your intake valves clean. Direct injection sprays fuel directly into the combustion chamber for better efficiency and power. The problem is that your intake valves are no longer getting that cleaning action. Oil vapors from your PCV system and exhaust gases from the EGR system cycle back through the intake tract. These oily vapors bake onto the hot intake valve stems, forming hard carbon deposits that grow thicker with every mile. As these deposits accumulate, they choke off airflow and eventually prevent the valves from seating properly. Picture yourself accelerating to merge onto the highway, expecting responsive power, only to experience hesitation because carbon buildup is strangling your engine's ability to breathe. Severe cases can lead to engine knocking and catastrophic failure. The fix requires walnut blasting, where fine walnut shell media is blasted into the intake ports to physically scrub the carbon off your valves. This requires significant disassembly of the intake system, making it an expensive procedure needed every 60,000 to 100,000 miles. Carbon buildup is expensive and annoying, but the next issue can strike without warning and leave you stranded, especially if you chose one of the V8 engines. Number 5. V8 dynamic fuel management lifter failures. If you're drawn to the 5.3-liter or 6.2-liter V8 engines, you need to understand GM's dynamic fuel management system. This is a design flaw that's been the subject of class action lawsuits spanning over a decade, and it's still present in the 2026 model. Dynamic fuel management allows the engine to deactivate cylinders to save fuel, running on as few as 4 cylinders during light loads. The system relies on specialized hydraulic lifters controlled by engine oil pressure. The constant cycling of these lifters creates a mechanical weakness that's almost inevitable over time. When a DFM lifter malfunctions, and they do with alarming frequency, it becomes stuck. The lifter roller loses proper contact with the camshaft lobe, causing metal-on-metal friction and impact damage. The failure cascades rapidly. The camshaft gets ground down, pushrods bend, and metallic debris circulates through the engine. Imagine you're 2 hours from home, towing your camper, when suddenly your truck starts misfiring violently and loses power. You're stranded on the highway while your weekend plans evaporate. If your DFM lifter fails outside the 5-year, 60,000-mile powertrain warranty, you're looking at repair costs between $9,000 and $12,000. Some owners install electronic DFM disablers, but the complex collapsing lifters are still vulnerable to failure. The only true solution is a full mechanical DFM delete, an expensive procedure that typically voids your warranty. So the V8s have lifter problems that can destroy your engine, but if you think switching to the 2.7-liter Turbo 4 solves the reliability issue, that engine brings its own catastrophic failures. Number 4. 2.7-liter turbo high-pressure fuel pump failures. The 2.7-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder produces 310 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque, but the high-pressure fuel pump is under constant extreme strain, and documented failures are creating serious operational risks. To achieve V8-level torque from a 4-cylinder, the engine relies on high boost pressure and sophisticated direct injection. The high-pressure fuel pump must generate extreme pressures to atomize fuel properly, especially when you're towing or accelerating hard. Real-world failure data shows it can't always handle the demand. Early warning signs include hard starts, particularly in cold weather, and a distinct whining or ticking noise from the pump area. Ignoring them can lead to complete pump failure while you're driving. Picture yourself pulling out into heavy traffic when suddenly your engine loses power. The truck hesitates, surges, or stalls completely. You're now blocking traffic while your work truck has become a dangerous obstacle. The fuel pump might leave you stranded, but that's just one symptom of a deeper problem. The entire architecture is showing signs it can't handle the long-term stress. Number 3. 2.7-liter turbo structural durability issues. Beyond the fuel pump problems, the 2.7-liter turbocharged engine faces fundamental questions about its long-term structural integrity. Mechanics and owners are reporting premature wear on internal components that suggest this engine isn't built to handle sustained, full-size truck duty. You're asking a small displacement, highly boosted four-cylinder to do the work traditionally handled by much larger V8s. When towing or hauling, that turbocharger is constantly spooling, and internal components are operating under continuous high stress and extreme heat. Reports are highlighting premature timing chain stretch and tensioner wear. The high thermal and mechanical cycling forces are causing chains to stretch and tensioners to fail earlier than expected. If a timing chain fails, you're looking at valve-to-piston contact, which means a complete engine overhaul or replacement with repair costs potentially reaching 5 figures. Reports of excessive oil consumption indicate the turbocharger system and tight tolerances are putting extraordinary demands on the lubrication system. If oil levels drop or quality degrades, the timing system becomes even more vulnerable. The 2.7-liter turbo represents a fundamental compromise. Impressive performance now, with serious questions about durability later. If you're planning to keep your truck for high mileage or use it consistently for towing, the structural wear risks make this engine a poor long-term choice. Engine failures are devastating, but the transmissions bolted to these engines have their own alarming track record. Number 2. Transmission reliability problems. The transmission pairings are just as problematic as the engines. The 10-speed automatic used with the V8s and diesel have documented systemic defects that are the subject of ongoing litigation and recalls. This unit has a safety-critical defect involving unpredictable downshifting that can lock up the rear wheels at highway speeds. Think about cruising at 70 miles per hour when suddenly your transmission commands an uncontrolled downshift and your rear wheels lock up. This prompted a recall a few years ago, but the fix GM implemented is controversial and may not actually solve the underlying problem. The defect is in the valve body, the transmission's hydraulic control unit. GM's recall involved installing a Gen 3 valve body, but independent transmission specialists are skeptical that this addresses the core hydraulic defect. Critics argue the fix merely changes geometry without resolving the fundamental oil leakage problem. Transmission failures are expensive and dangerous, but there's one powertrain that carries an even more extreme financial risk, and it's the one that's supposed to save you money. Number 1. Duramax diesel catastrophic fuel system contamination. The 3.0-liter Duramax turbo diesel offers impressive fuel economy and 495 pound-feet of torque, but this engine carries the single highest financial risk: catastrophic high-pressure fuel pump failure that can contaminate the entire fuel system. Ultra-low sulfur diesel fuel lacks the natural lubricating properties that prevent internal metal-on-metal wear inside the precision components of the pump. When the pump begins to fail internally, it sheds microscopic metal shavings and debris into the fuel system. Because the Duramax uses a closed-loop common rail design, these contaminants circulate under extreme pressure throughout the high-pressure side of the engine. The metal debris destroys everything downstream. The high-precision fuel injectors, fuel rails, and high-pressure lines all get contaminated and damaged. You'll experience rough idling, severe power loss, and often a distinctive knocking noise. But by that point, the damage is done. The repair is exceptionally comprehensive and devastatingly expensive. You're looking at simultaneous replacement of the high-pressure fuel pump, all 6 injectors, the fuel rails, all high-pressure lines, plus labor-intensive cleaning or replacement of the fuel tank and low-pressure components. Out-of-warranty repair costs commonly exceed $10,000. There's an additional hidden cost. The engine uses a wet belt to drive the internal oil pump, and this belt has a mandatory replacement interval. Due to the belt's location deep inside the engine's bell housing, replacing it requires complete transmission removal. The estimated cost for this single preventative maintenance service is approximately $3,000, needed every 150,000 to 200,000 miles. This fixed maintenance item can potentially erase much of the fuel savings from choosing the diesel. The 2026 Chevrolet Silverado delivers impressive on-paper specifications, but the reality tells a different story. From inevitable carbon buildup to catastrophic DFM lifter failures, from fuel pump vulnerabilities to life-threatening transmission defects, and finally to the Duramax diesel's devastating fuel system contamination risk, every engine option carries systemic flaws that transform what should be a reliable work truck into a financial liability. These aren't isolated quality control issues. They're fundamental design compromises made to meet efficiency standards, and they're going to cost you thousands once your warranty expires. Even with all these potential issues, most of the Silverado engines are actually a solid choice. If you can't decide whether you want a gasoline or diesel version, make sure to check out our comparison video you can now see on the screen. There is only one winner in this shootout, and you might be surprised by the outcome.